My name is Rochelle Jenkins. This moment is very important for our community and our children and the parents like myself, hardworking parents. Like right now, I'm on my split just to be here. For whatever reason, the powers that be have no respect for parents, children, or any of us. OUSD security assaulted parents and community members at the Parker Liberation School Board candidate. And a school board candidate was unlawfully detained. Multiple activists have sustained injuries.
Okay, so this happened yesterday, Friday, August 5th, at 12 noon. Okay, so yesterday, Oakland Unified School District, OUSD, acting at the direction of Chief Governance Officer Josh Daniels and Superintendent Kyla Johnson-Trammell, sent a group of OUSD security officers to change the locks and clear people from the community-liberated Parker Elementary School in East Oakland, California. For the last 2 months, a group of parents, children, and public school community members have reclaimed the space, which as of February 2022 was slated to be closed and privatized by OUSD. The security officers physically ejected several people and unlawfully detained one parent in the building in handcuffs, injuring the parent in the process. Within 2 hours, nearly 60 people from the public education community and neighborhood had maced outside with a single demand: let go of this parent. After an hour, OPD arrived with 4 officers. As they opened the building, the group of people who were amazed outside entered the building and were met with excessive force by the OUSD security forces. More than 10 people sustained minor to moderate injuries, and 2 people went to the hospital for treatment. Although the Parker School Liberation organizers knew that OUSD might raid the property in an attempt to continue their privatization efforts, we are shocked that the district would fail to give notice that an eviction was impending, or to warn the people in the building of an imminent physical attack by their security forces. It was unthinkable that the district would send a group of poorly trained security officers to injure, aggress, and antagonize a peaceful community where children were receiving services. Located in a predominantly black and brown neighborhood of East Oakland, which already experiences disproportionate police violence. This attack comes in addition to the first act of violence from OUSD to the Parker Elementary community.
Since May 25th, the final day of classes in OUSD were for the 2021-2022 school year. Parents, teachers, students, and community members have been engaging in a 24/7 occupation of Parker K-8 school, reclaiming it as Parker Community School. Organizers have held the space in protest of OUSD's racist closure plans, in service to the surrounding community, and in celebration of the power of the people united. In the 72 days since the liberation began, Parker Community School has served the surrounding community in numerous and varied ways, including running the summer school program for the school-aged children, youth empowerment initiatives, free food distribution, voter registration drives, and hosting community town halls and other events devoted to the arts and crafts, performances, political education, and civic engagement. Parker liberation activists also engaged in multi-level negotiations with OUSD throughout the liberation. The liberation issued demands of OUSD in early June, accumulating in a collectively written resolution calling for the reversal of school closures and its historic investments in services at the sites of the district that would have closed.
The liberation was able to make all of this happen despite ceaseless attempts at intimidation and harassment by numerous OUSD officials, including Chief Governance Officer Josh Daniels, Risk Management Officer Rebecca Littlejohn, Buildings and Grounds Manager Mark White, Buildings and Grounds Coordinator Mark Cavalli, and other employees from OUSD's legal facilities, buildings and grounds, and security staff. These included physical intimidation and threats, spurious claims of unsafe conditions, all originally created by OUSD's shoddy site maintenance, attempts to cut off the liberation's access to hot water and safe food storage, attempts to block fire escapes and emergency exit routes, and numerous other attempts at intimidation, harassment, and endangerment.
You know, this is one of the ones who was attacked. This is Max Orozco. And I'm so heartbroken by what happened yesterday, because that should have never happened. Out 72 days we have been here, we have never, not once, threatened the lives or the well-being of any board member, any security officer, or nobody, because that's not what we're doing here. We come in peace. We come in peace, and we want to continue to create peace, because that's what we need at this school and at other communities. We need peace. We need to have the right to education, the right to live, just the right to be who we are. And it seems like they don't want that for us.
They don't want you trespassing. So what do you say to that? And they say they've directed you to leave from day one, and on many occasions, and of great concern is the children sleeping in unsafe conditions.
My name is Joel Velasquez. I'm a resident here for 30 years, a parent. I live up the street. I want to be really clear about that question. This isn't trespassing. This is a community building. This is everyone you see standing around here. This is what this was intended for. This building has almost been here for 100 years. There's nobody trespassing. The only people trespassing is OUSD.
That's right.
On this community. And they've been doing this for almost a 20-year period of closing schools in communities that need them the most.
That's right.
These are racist practices. There is an ACLU right now on Rob Bonta's desk talking about civil rights violations right here in Oakland and these practices.
That's
So
right.
we will not be subjected to that rhetoric and that propaganda.
That's right.
My
That's
children
right.
were subjected to this 10 years ago, and we had to do the same thing that these poor parents have done. Okay? So I'm going to let Max talk, and if you guys have questions, but we will need to make it clear to the community, not just here in Oakland and around the Bay and around the nation, that our public schools are under attack, and we're
right.
not going to allow that anymore.
That's
and
right.
OUSD sent, I'm going to be really careful because I was here watching all this, and this is extremely emotional for all of us as parents. To watch them brutally, physically assault parents that are not doing anything violent, that are not doing anything wrong, just trying to provide a space for their children, is the most powerful and most innocent and honest thing that any community member can do for their community. So let's be clear who the enemy is.
That's right.
That's right.
Who the aggressors are. who are the people that are attacking our children, and that these parents and this community around us is trying to protect. And we've been trying to do this since OUSD has been closing schools in our neighborhoods for almost a 20-year period.
That's right. That's right.
My name is Joel Velasquez, Joel, last name Velasquez, Velasquez, and for transparency, I am a D6 resident and candidate for school board right now as we speak, along with Max. And Valerie, excuse me, sorry, I forgot Valerie was here.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry if I'm not too loud. My chest still hurts. Parker community has been here since the school closed. Never had any altercations. We've never been violent. This community has been a peaceful community since day one. Yesterday's attack, it was uncalled for. I personally, one of those people that got attacked. I was saved by other personnel. I was held against my will, handcuffed against my will. I am not a violent person. I never raise my voice. I don't use my hands. Yet, that did not stop anyone. I want to call in for these officials in the school district to investigate and get to the bottom of this. Because the assault I suffered yesterday, the retention against my will in a building has to be taken care of. These people, these things carry consequences, and those consequences have to be taken into these people that gave those instructions and the people that gave orders to follow it, as well as the people that assaulted me. I am running for a school board director number 2, district number 2.
That's right.
So I will never show that to any children to use their force. We could talk. We have a speech. We've been given a speech, a way to talk and communicate. We've been doing this with the district. We've been trying to talk to the district. They have not heard us. So I do call on all these high officials on the school district to investigate what happened to me yesterday and to prosecute and show consequences to these people. And like I said, I can't talk too much. I'm still in pain from yesterday.
Can you state and spell your first and last name?
Max Orozco, M-A-X, last name Orozco, O-R-O-Z-C-O.
Ed,
Do you have injuries from yesterday? Is like
Yes, I do.
Right there, is that part of yesterday?
I have many injuries. This is one of the visible injuries.
so when they were arresting you or handcuffing you or whatever, what did they say why they were doing it?
I cannot get into details. All I can say is that it happened so fast that it will take more time for me to walk from here to where you are for them to attack me.
Why are you in the school?
We are here for the community. This is a community school. We love our children. We are trying to do a job that the district is not doing. We want to keep our kids safe. We want to give them education. And the district is failing on this. Their response to a safe education and a good education is closing schools. Which to me, that doesn't make sense. You open schools, you hire teachers, and you teach the kids,
That's right.
not the opposite.
So just real quick, if the district is saying there's lots of money, we have to close these and move the kids to other schools, what's your response to that?
It's a lie.
This is the nonsense that the propaganda and the nonsense that OUSD. And let's take one step back. We live in the state of California. The state of California has a $90 billion surplus right now. Okay, we're not in a deficit.
That's right.
We don't have a lack of resources. This is a choice. This is an attack. And OUSD, by their own data, is not in a fiscal crisis. two more parts of that. We've just been approved in Oakland for community schools, sustainable community schools, which more fund is already being allocated as we speak to Oakland already. And there's already a measure on the state level to increase per pupil spending by 13%. So that is nonsense. OUSD is not in a fiscal crisis, and the community, not just here in Oakland, but nationally, needs to stop saying that and believing that nonsense, okay? We should have the best schools in the nation because we have the #1 economy in the nation, period.
And what's behind, so what's behind this? What's behind this?
You got, thank you.
Sorry. I was one of the people who was assaulted yesterday.
Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Rebecca. I have a concussion and the light is like kind of a bit. Sorry. I think I'm gonna put it back on. My name is Rebecca Ruiz, R-U-I-Z. I work with an organization called the Anti-Police Terror Project. We've been supporting these mothers in the community from day one of the school liberation, we like to call it, because this is already occupied Ohlone land. You know, I was like thrown against a tile wall, and I just got back from the hospital. This is an attack on Black and brown children, on this community who simply have the audacity of demanding to learn, right? Demanding to have equitable education. So I think it's really critical that we call out the board members who have not spoken out against what happened yesterday. So if you are on OUSD board and you haven't made a statement about this, you need to. This was a violent attack against parents and teachers, against a liberation that has been solely peaceful, that has provided direct services to this community, who has done the work that you are refusing to do.
That's right. That's right.
So to be met with such extreme brutality that put at least three of us that I know about in the hospital, that beat and bloodied folks, I'm pissed, honestly. I'm pissed. And not just at security, right? Because the blame needs to also lie with Josh Daniels, the district's lawyer, and the superintendent, Kyla. So I would challenge them. I would challenge you to call them and ask them why they feel it was appropriate to send guards in here to beat us up.
So just real quick, you guys, there was a question of what this is about, and I wanted Rebecca and anyone else who wants to speak to talk about this. But let's be really clear. OUSD keeps saying closing schools. They're not closing schools. They're replacing them with charter schools.
Say that.
That's right.
Okay? Let's be clear. They haven't been closed. They've been replaced by charter schools that have no public oversight, that take public funding and create a profit for those entities, for those school sites. The parents and the students and administrators at those sites are not adversaries. They're race baiting and splitting our communities with the same nonsense of divide and conquer.
Come on.
So hear that clearly. It's the entities that's the problem. And again, this isn't an Oakland problem. This is a national problem. I've traveled around the country. New Orleans doesn't have a public school system because of this. So we all need to pay attention. The public at home needs to understand what is happening to our public education, and what is the attack and the violence against our children and our communities that need this resource. This is the one and only resource we have left in our communities across this nation. And they're closing them and taking them away from us. And that needs to be understood.
And Tony Thurmond, where does he stand on this? And Gavin Newsom? I understand the community money, community school money, a lot of that is going to be going to charters.
So, look, there is a very serious conversation that needs to happen in this country around the direction of our public education system. This is not new. This has been happening now for almost 20 years, and definitely right here in Oakland, California. Okay? So, the supporters of charters and the parents, that's the divide. The race baiting, that's the divide. But we all know that this is a money grab to take public funding with no oversight.
That's right.
There's a reason why we have school board members running right now to be the voices of the community, because that's the way democracy's been set up. in a charter school system that does not exist.
Right.
Let's be clear. So we lose control of our public education system. Let's hear that again. We lose control of our public education system. And it's a hard thing to understand. Why should we understand? Because it is the core of our society right now.
That's right.
This is where we educate our entire community across the nation. This is where resources are supposed to go in. This is where support for our parents and our families that are working 24/7 are supposed to be. And you telling me that we're supposed to allow that to be taken away from us? No way.
That's right.
We're done. It's not happening in Oakland, and it will not continue from this point forward. The school district will be held accountable for the violence that happened here today. They will be fired, resigned, or whatever it needs to take. The school board was notified after the fact. Okay, let's be clear. District 6 has no rep. Kyra that was appointed because she supports charters and privatizing our education system is sitting in that chair right now, hasn't reached out to any of us. To no one. She does not represent the community. So I'm going to park it here.
She ain't here.
Was there somebody else that was injured? Or
I was just going to say something real quick to that exact point. Thank you so much, Brother Joel. So my name is Valerie Batchelor. I'm a D6 resident here, and I was here during the struggles that happened here in our community. And I just want to make that point really clear. There were 3-4 folks that were running for office here for the district positions. And one of our members that is currently on the board, where is Kyra? Where is she? Right? She was nowhere to be found. We have asked her repeatedly to talk about this during the board retreat right now, and nothing is happening. No one is being held accountable. No one is asking the questions that we need to be asked about this situation. Board members didn't even know this was happening. We called Van Cedric. He had no idea. We talked to Mike. He had no idea. Who did this? Right? Who talked to folks about coming down here and violating these spaces in our community? We are here with love and empathy for our community, and we were violently attacked for trying to go back in and occupy our spaces. This is not okay in Oakland, it is not okay in California, and it is not going to stand. We need to take a stand right now, and this is what our community is doing. So our brother here who got hurt, come on. We are better than this as a community. We are better than this as a peoples. We gotta make sure that our public spaces are not filled with violence.
That's right.
And I'm talking about the white supremacist violence of our district. We gotta be really clear about that. They are closing these schools. Carl Monk is on that list next, right? How many black and brown kids go to Carl Monk? How many of those folks are SPED students that they will not be included in our charter school system? Right? Come on. Right? We can't push and push and push people out of this district. We can't keep pushing our public education away and charterizing it and privatizing it. We got to make sure that our public education stays public, and that means electing board members that are about public education and want to support public education. So I'm going to leave it to other folks that want to speak.
Where is the OEA union? Where do they stand on
We
this?
don't want to cover that right now.
Can you tell me who's
Right now?
staying in here right now and how many people?
No, we cannot. Anyhow, while we're talking about public education, I need everybody to put this on their mind. My ancestors, my people, they have marched, they have fought, they have died in the streets like dogs just so we can go to school.
That's right.
And get the public education that we need. Martin Luther King and all those people who marched, they didn't die for charter schools. I'm gonna tell you that now.
Exactly.
The Little Rock 9, those 9 people that went into that public school, they didn't go into a charter school. They didn't get beat up and called names and all that stuff for no charter schools. It was for public school. So we can have the right to be educated as well as everybody else. And for them to close schools in our communities, the schools that my ancestors and the people in the civil rights movement have fought for, is a setback. And we will not stand for that. We will not stand for anybody closing any more schools in our communities. We will not stand for gentrification. We will not stand for modern day colonization, because that's what this is starting to come down to.
That's right.
And then the biggest enemy And the common enemy that we all have is capitalism. Because that plays a hand in all of this. The greedy,
Trying to make money.
the rich versus the poor.
So the developers want this land?
Of course they do. They want other stuff around here too. That's why they have been pushing us out. They start with closing the schools, and then they start raising up the rent and the cost of living, and that forces everybody up out here. It don't matter how good of a job you got. I have a good job. I'm a bus driver. I make $36 an hour, but I'm up here struggling with my kids, trying to pay some doggone rent, and trying to make sure they go to school. And I get up at 4:45 in the morning.
That I wanted to say, and I want everybody who's watching this, we got all these news stations here. We started this back on graduation day on May 25th, and we had been fighting the school board for a long time, peacefully fighting. I mean, going to school board meetings, trying to figure out why they are insisting on closing this school, trying to fight the closure. And so we ended up staying, me and Rochelle, when our kids graduated on May 25th, and we had the best summer ever. We had over 30 kids that came back here every day, all affected by this closure, all who live in this area. That's what we did it for, was to have something nice. So to show up and to see 5, 6 huge security officers drag him in there and then beat him up and hold him hostage in handcuffs for over an hour, that's scary. That's a hostage situation. Nobody would know unless you were here seeing it. We're banging on the door trying to get him out, asking them, please let him out, please let him out. And you can look in there and see him on the floor, on the chair, bloody, in handcuffs, with 5, 6 big guys around him. That's really terrible. This is a school. This is a school that 2 mothers and some other parents and community members are trying to keep open. There's no reason that there should be a hostage situation with somebody bleeding on the floor.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.